Somewhere someone is whistling Joy to the World, and somewhere someone is humming We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Somewhere people are shopping for last-minute gifts while getting caught up in the hustle and bustle of merriment. But tonight we have gathered on a longest night of the year to sing more solemn melodies and to be reflective. Tonight, as people did centuries ago, we've gathered as the darkness threatens to overtake the light, and we wonder, will darkness overshadow everything, or will light come to renew us, bringing us joy? We don't wonder, as the ancients did, if the sun will die and fail to return, but we do gather in the darkness of this long night to name our own darkness, fear and grief, and to see the beauty of the light. There are times when we know what the script ought to be, but somebody or something changes the lines on us. Maybe a loved one has passed. Maybe we have a family that's a little bit dysfunctional. Maybe you can't get home for Christmas this year. Could just be that at Christmas time you feel blue, or that you struggle with depression is magnified in the season. There are times when Christmas just doesn't go according to our plans. It's hard feeling such depth and weight, sadness and blues at the time of year when the demand for joyfulness is so great. We're here tonight because the only path from darkness into light, the only way to go over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house or wherever we need to be for Christmas, is through the honesty of our tears and grief. We must embrace the full range of our emotions because we're alive and we have depth. We need to winter as much as we need to summer. And the only way out of the fire is through the fire. And we know that being honest about these feelings and facing this truth versus wearing a mask of smiles is the only way to reach true, deep, and profound joy. Why else would a Charlie Brown's Christmas be so cherished? It shocked and touched people in 1965 with its Christmas blues, in a time when you just didn't discuss such things. Charles Schulz captured the Christmas blues perfectly in The Longing of Charlie Brown. The blues may come, but we have the gift of Scripture on our side. We have the gift of Jesus Christ. The good news of God comes to those in darkness, to those who are waiting with just a thread of hope to cling to those who have nearly given up, to those who know the tears of depression all too well. Listen to Isaiah's good news. People who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. And who does Jesus reach out to in His words, His treasured words, when He says, "Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." He's speaking to those who feel overwhelmed by their burdens in life and who bear a heavy yoke in need of relief. You're overloaded in your mind. You're overloaded in your spirit. You're overloaded in your emotions. What are the usual responses when we get weary, tired, and burdened? Good responses would be getting more sleep, regular exercise, taking time off, going fishing, or listening to music. Negative responses would be drinking, watching TV, eating too much, taking pills to jack yourself up or to settle you down. But none of these things, the good ones or the bad ones, will or even can give your soul rest. Only God can give you that. You need soul rest far more than you need physical rest. You need release from worry. You need release from tension. You need to be released from stress, from guilt, from fear, from bitterness, from anxiety. Your soul needs rest. All of you, take up my yoke and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for yourselves. A yoke is a crosspiece bound to the necks of a pair of oxen or occasionally horses. And Jesus says, I want you to take my yoke upon you. Why does He use this symbol? A yoke is a symbol of partnership, and a yoke is a symbol of control. There are two of you working on your struggle, and not just one. Jesus says, I will help you out with your problems. I will help you carry your load. You're not alone. We're never alone. He says, I will share your load. He doesn't add to your load. He doesn't have a load to add. He's God. He says, I will share your load. Stick with me. Go shoulder to shoulder with me. Work with me. And I will be your partner. And I will carry part of your load. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Why? Because we're sharing it. We don't have to carry it alone. We don't have to carry it alone. Psalm 55:22 paraphrase says, pile your troubles on God's shoulders. He'll carry your load and He'll help you out. God has a stronger back than we do. If you're feeling overloaded, overstressed, burdened, and beat down, it's because you're not yoked to Christ in this moment right now. Every time I get detached from Jesus, my stress level goes whoosh. And every time I get reattached, my stress level goes down. And when oxen are yoked together, they're controlled by the master. And when we're under the yoke of Christ, we're controlled by God. We're giving up control, and we're placing it back in the hands of its rightful owner. When I'm yoked with Jesus, we move together in the same direction, at the same pace. When we're yoked to Jesus, we can't go in a different direction than Jesus. We can't go any faster than Jesus. He sets the direction. He sets the pace. In Matthew 16:24, Jesus basically said, anyone that intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat, I am. So who's the pace car in your life? Who's the pace car in your life right now? I hope so. I mean, who sets the pace when it involves the phone, email, texting, social networking, hobbies, work schedules, fashion, music, TV, movies, house, car, family time, money, church? Is it your agenda, your keeping up with the Joneses mentality, or God's agenda? If you're setting the pace, it's no wonder you're stressed out. You're looking around at everybody else, seeing how fast they're going, and you think you've got to catch up. And I've got a news flash. They're burning out too. Why would you want to set the pace of your life to another person? Learn to say no to the world. Give yourself permission to say no. Ask, Jesus, how do you want me to spend my time? Jesus, how do you want me to spend my money? He's already answered you. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. John's Gospel, in summing up the good news of Christ, couldn't do it without mentioning the darkness. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. If you're burdened, I want to encourage you to partner with Jesus in that burden. He gives power to those who are tired and worn out. He offers strength to the weak. Those who wait on the Lord will find new strength. Isaiah 40:29 and 31. Scripture clarifies that because God is compassion, God's mercy is offered abundantly to those in darkness, those in grief, to the poor and the sick, to those who feel hopeless. He is the light. And there's a secret I want to share with you tonight that I won't be able to share with everyone else on Christmas Eve. The secret is that anyone whose Christmas is blue, those who can't hold back the winter tears, and those who know darkness, grief, and pain, they actually know the depth of the good news of God in a way that others who can only sing fa la 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 can't know it. For those of you here tonight on this darkest, longest night, this is when God's light shines the brightest, because we come together in the honesty of life's struggle, in the honesty of life's burdens, and we still see His light shine. And this light, we say with humble trust and quiet joy, this light is Christ. God's own self, rooted in humanity, so that human life could be lifted up to the divine, lifted up to Him. And this is the good news of Christmas. This is the good news amidst our blues in the season. This is the depth, length, and breadth of God's mercy and compassion for creation. The color blue shows up a lot in Scripture, mostly in our Old Testament. It's frequently mentioned when describing the fabric and decorations of the tabernacle or the temple. But as I researched this message, I found there was one person who always wore blue. Do you know who it was that God always required to wear blue in the Old Testament? The high priest. When the high priest performed services for God's people in the tabernacle, he always wore blue. There were a couple of exceptions to this. However, one of the distinguishing marks of the high priest was his blue robe. Now, there are a number of possible reasons why God may have decided to clothe his high priest in blue, but I hypothesize one reason in particular. The Bible tells me that Jesus is now my high priest, and he too wears a garment of blue. Jesus reaches into my life, he reaches into your life, and he takes the blues from our lives and bears them on his shoulders. So as you leave here tonight, yoke yourselves to Jesus Christ and leave your blues with him, the light and the hope of the world. Amen.